into the corn dessert. So this dessert came about when I had the best client come in that you could ever hope for. This client came in with no budget, spend as much as you want. They were all foodies and they said, I want you to make the coolest thing you've always wanted to make for our dinner. I was like, absolutely, that sounds great. So I had always wanted to do some sort of corn dessert. So we do have corn molds. This was made from an actual ear of corn. So everything is detailed in there as, you know, irregular as a piece of corn actually is. So that's what we're using to mold our desserts. We're gonna make a cremeux using roasted corn. These molds I do keep in the freezer too. When we're building this one, the insert tends to float, so you want it to set as quickly as possible. So yesterday we roasted off some corn. I cooked these with the husks on for 30 minutes at 300 degrees. This way all of the moisture stays inside there, all that corn flavor stays inside there. If you cut off the kernels and roast it really dries out. I didn't get as good of a flavor that way. If you boil it, obviously you lose all the flavor in the water, and that's not good either. So this was really the best way to use that. So I am going to scale out the corn we need for today. My lovely vinyl gloves. Anybody use corn in their desserts before? Yeah? What'd you make?
A little like sweet corn and blueberry kakigori.
Ooh, that sounds great. Blueberry is a great pairing with corn. I've also done a corn creme brulee with a blueberry compote. Really, really nice. It's kind of where I got this original from too, was making that creme brulee base and turning it into a cremeux afterwards instead. Anybody else use corn? No? Yeah? What do you do with corn?
Well, I wanted to do almost like a corn cake and then made it spicy Cremeux kind of on the bottom and then more of that like mango green kind of aspect of it.
Nice. That sounds great.
And then we just did a chocolate husk on it. So we used actually a husk to make the chocolate husk.
That's what we're doing today too.
Oh yeah.
You read my mind. All right. Double check exactly how much of this we're making. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the corn in with my milk and my cream. That to a boil. Frank's going to bring that to a boil. And I'm actually going to make the entire anglaise basically with the corn in there through the whole process. So we're whisking it while we're making the anglaise, and I only strain it out after I've hit that nappe point. That way you can extract all the corn flavor you can possibly get out of it. No, it has so much starch in it, it's gonna mess with your texture. So I'm really just steeping it in there to get all the corn flavor, and then we'll strain it out before we mix in our butter at the end. And that way it's gonna taste just like corn. And because this is a cremeux, it's got so many egg yolks and eggs in it, the natural yellow color comes right through in the actual dessert, and there's no added food dye to it at all. I did a little sugar in here and a little sugar in my juice. It's a very tiny bowl I've got. We're going to upgrade. Do you want to take that to stove, Frank? I will bring you egg yolks and sugar. my sugar in the cream and milk. Another half in egg yolks and eggs. And then a little bit of gelatin. We are also going to be pouring this over Zephyr Caramel. So Zephyr Caramel is Cacao Barry's caramelized white chocolate. It's a higher percentage of white chocolate, and it's got just a rich, creamy flavor to it, and it goes really, really nicely with the corn. It also helps stabilize it and give it the texture, so I can use a little bit less gelatin in the overall mix. Ooh, that way so you guys can see. Mixing up. I'm going to go ahead and start doing the garnish. So, as you mentioned, what was your name again?
Brittany.
Brittany? Brittany mentioned we can make a chocolate garnish using the husk. That's what we're going to do as well. Thank you, Frank. You read my mind. So, nice, really great way to upcycle. Usually all the husk on the corn you're going to end up throwing away. In this case, you can use them. I'm specifically looking for that texture, very unique texture the corn husk has. I did originally try this with the tamale husks. Doesn't work. It's way too dry and brittle, and I was unable to get it off in one piece to separate from the chocolate cleanly. Plus, I like the flexibility this has. I'm actually going to roll this over a rolling pin to get a curvature on it. That way it can curve over the corn Cremeux garnish as well. Great use of it. Sustainability is extremely important to me, and it's something we've been focusing a lot more on, especially moving to Denver. Much more prominent in your daily lifestyle. The more we ask for of our vendors and producers where is this food coming from, the more impact it has. So Cacao Barry is part of Cocoa Horizons. So all of the chocolate is part of that sustainability program. Cocoa Horizons is a great way to directly connect to the cacao producers over in West Africa and other countries, where we are directly helping that farmer with that crop. We're part of an education program, part of a loan program to make sure that they have all the help they need to continue to produce cacao that we absolutely love here so much. So, all right. I get a couple more things here. What I'm doing too is, because this curves on the end like this, I'm just cutting off the end piece so it lays flat. So we get a nice square going. Pieces like that. Honestly, don't know how we got corn on the cob at this time of year. I don't know who ended up sourcing this, but thank you. Really tastes a lot better with fresh corn on the cob. This dessert was originally made in the summer too. All right, so we got our Zephyr Caramel. Anybody tried Zephyr Caramel before? Yeah? One of my favorites. I really, really like it a lot. White chocolate a lot of the times is too sweet from so many applications, so I always resort back to using Zephyr Caramel. It does have a little bit of natural brown color too, which is really where I go with most of my desserts. I don't like the unnatural food dye looking desserts. So having that brown tint in it compared with everything else really kind of makes it more of a natural look to it. All right, I'm doing a little table tempering. This is the smallest piece of marble I think I've ever used. So cute. I'm very spoiled being in a hotel with a temperature controlled room and bigger spatulas than this. Yeah, usually your spatula should always be much bigger than this piece here, so it's a little bit messy, but also a Calibo version of this chocolate called Gold, which is a little bit more, like Frank mentioned, Calibo's our workhorse, so it's a little bit more affordable and still a great quality product if you need something to use. Could be used as a replacement in this recipe. However, I would look at your overall sugar content as well as the gelatin content, since the cacao percentage is different. It might need some slight adjustments on that. I'm also very spoiled to have a chocolate tempering machine at my work. Hoping next year they let me buy one for white chocolate. With a heat gun real quick just to bring it back up to working temp. But today we're going to use the handy dandy microwave for about 5 seconds. I don't think it was 5 seconds. Yes, underneath the table I have that shiny Perfect. 29.6 Celsius. All right. Anybody want to make corn garnishes with me? Wow, so excited. Don't have to. I'll show you the first ones. So Frank just pulled the corn Cremeux off the stove here, straining out all the corn. I'm going to let that chill and cool down. I want the butter is at room temp right now. I want it to be soft and blend in there without melting. So you want to let that cool down a little bit. But right now I am going to add the Zephyr Caramel and gelatin. So one of the tricks I use in hotels a lot, we have to bloom a lot of gelatin all the time. Some recipes have 400 grams of gelatin in it you need. It's like half the box mostly. I usually keep in a tub of water in the refrigerator, nice and cold, and that way we can just pull that out and use it throughout the day to ensure that it's well bloomed and easily accessible. Gelato tubs work perfectly for that. You don't have to chop up the gelatin sheets, you can put the whole sheet in there at the same time. So I already have put the gelatin in there to melt. I'm going to add my Zephyr Caramel. So we're in a beautiful like yellow color right now. Put in the Zephyr Caramel, it does get a little bit darker, but once we add the butter in, it lightens up again. It'll be a natural yellow color. Absolutely. So this is an unglaze right now. Once I've added gelatin and butter to it, it becomes a croûte. Can you come closer, Frank? Turn the dishwasher on.
So I said it's a procedure that it evolves into.
Yes, yes. All right, so this is still very, very hot. I've melted my butter right now, so I'm going to move that to the refrigerator for a minute. All right, let's go back to making our garnishes. So there's a little bit of moisture still on these. From the temperature change from the fridge. Just let it dry that out a little bit. And baby offset around here somewhere. Clear the view line for you guys. I don't want to do a full sheet at a time. I'm going to kind of tear it naturally into strips. I don't want to cut it at this point. I don't want a perfectly straight line. I want that natural look to it. And you're going to spread this out and cover it in chocolate. Super thin because I do want all the grooves in there as well, and I also want it to hold up afterwards. I did try dipping these, did not go very well. Best method I found is to individually nice even layer on it by hand. Anybody like to come up and try to make one? Awesome. I was like, no, I'm working later. I'm good. Okay. We kind of reshape it a little bit to focus on this. the way it curls in, you're going to go the other direction. So there you go. So as this chocolate is setting a little bit, used to a very cold chocolate room, it pretty much sets instantly on the table and you can immediately mold it. But as it's kind of setting, you can have this curvature. Just a second. I like this one too. I mean, if it breaks off a little bit on the end or on one side, it just makes it look that much more natural. We're not looking for that perfect, triangle-shaped chocolate garnish. We want it to be a natural piece of it. Excellent work.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to try to make one? Yeah, come on. Pick your corn husk. That's a good one.
Direction.
Yeah, kind of. A little less pressure on that base. So you can still see the colors through it. Yeah. Nice. Very good. Mhm. Awesome. Cool. Anybody else before we move on? All right. Right, let me hand this to you. All right. We are going to start working on the insert for the center of the corn. So when I was coming up with the flavor profile for this corn, I thought about, how do we normally eat corn on the cob? Usually there's sour cream involved in some way. So we decided to go with a sour cream insert in the center. To make that, I wanted that actual round cob center to the corn. To make that, I took acetate, a thicker acetate, and just rolled it to make my own mold. So I went for something that's about a 1/2 inch. Nice tube. You can get about 4 corn portions out of this one. I taped it up. I put some plastic wrap on the bottom, poke a little hole in that plastic wrap. That way when you're filling it with the pastry bag and the mousse, all of the air is going to have a place to escape. If you don't do that when you unroll it, there will be giant air pockets in there just because it just has nowhere to go with that air. So the mousse itself is pretty thick, so you don't have too much of a leakage situation. Once it's filled, you just put some plastic wrap on the side. You don't really need to tape it more than that. Freeze it, and then we're gonna cut the one I made earlier today and put that into the molds. So, Greg, would you mind dropping off that to insert from the fridge? So nice curved cuts. Base for this is a tahine sablé. So the tahine, there's a couple different varieties that they sell. When I originally made this recipe, I used the classic tahine with lime, and then we got here, and this one's habanero version. So when I made the one that we're going to be trying today, I did take the cayenne out of it because we tried it with just the tahine, and it was plenty spicy all by itself. It did not need any extra kick. So just be wary of what you buy and season to how you enjoy to taste anyway. I don't really handle heat too well. I try, but a little spice is good. is the sour cream insert we made yesterday. So I'm just going to unmold it. And we're going to do a quick trim. Industrial tape on it. Slightly smaller knife. There we go. It's free. Perfect. So we did get a little bit of an air bubble in that. We will avoid that when we're cutting it. A little bit slower next time. Alright, and then size-wise, we just want to, I think it's 3 3/4 inch exactly, but basically so it fits inside that corn mold there. So once I cut one, I just use that as a template for the others. Perfect. Exactly 4. Alright, so the tahini sablé I did bake off this morning, but I did want to, it's not the sablé, other brown thing on a small sheet pan. This is that tahini sablé. So it's got really nice, just natural colors to it. Got all that tahini in there. There's also ground toasted almonds inside. This helps the sablé get even more crumbly, and it has a nice texture to it. And look at that nice color. It's just a really great natural color to it. A little bit of spice. So those are cut up, and for the petit gâteau, it was a nice rectangle square underneath. And we did some individual portions for you guys as well. So, all right, let's get that corn stuff. There are some frozen empty corn molds in the freezer. So this is cooled down enough. I usually do like to cool it down a little bit more, but I'm not going to sit here and wait you guys watch the corn cool. We've got our soft butter. We'll add to this next. Gonna blend that in. Frozen, it's really going to help ensure that this actually has an opposite bottom line insert you put in there a sink. This one likes to float. So same kind of problem, but in a different direction. So you want to make sure that that first layer you put in sets enough that it doesn't float up. Like I said, this is still a little warm, so it might, but you guys aren't eating those. Anybody have a bunch of these in their kitchen? Best Home Depot. Half the tools are from Office Depot or Home Depot.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Alright, so we're just going to pop that right in the center. And then just fill it to the top. Nice natural corn color, right? All right. That's it on corn Cremeux. So we're gonna jump right back in and we're gonna finish the corn Cremeux. We'll go in the same order we did before. We're gonna do the corn, banana bar, and finish with the cherry. So we are gonna get started on the corn. I'm gonna grab those out of the freezer and we are gonna unmold them. This is my favorite part, is the unmolding part, right? I mean, it looks like a real ear of corn, right? So when I did this for the event, I sliced it in smaller portions, like we'll do for your guys' tasting today instead of a petit gâteau. And so many people thought it was part of the savory display and went up and tried to pick up the piece of corn. I was like, I did it. Like, I fooled you. So these molds are great. They unmold very easily. They are a little bit heavier. So I'm going to take these out and do just a classic clear glaze on top. So there is a recipe for this clear glaze in there. I don't necessarily make clear glaze all the time. It's something we can buy very accessibly. But this one just has a little lemon juice flavoring to it, which I thought would just be nice for it. So, whew, get that corner.
Do you have the molds like custom made or do you buy them?
Etsy. There's a lot of food grade silicone options on Etsy. All right, so. This gives it that nice shiny corn exterior. And I am going to trim the ends off, so I'm not too concerned about getting the ends glazed. Yes, I do. You'll see there's a couple more steps to this. It needs to be frozen to complete the process. frozen elements. I'm gonna move it to the cutting board. For the petit gâteau, I can get 2 portions out of one by slicing the end off. And I kind of slice the uneven part of this one, that way it's equal portions. And in half again. And then you can see that nice insert inside. It's starting to look like real corn. This is our green dip. So I'm going to use a stick. I try to put it in between the kernels so it's you can't see the hole you poked in the corn. You can cover it with the garnish later. I'm just going to dip it just the bottom, just a little bit of green color on there. I don't want a lot. Scrape off a little extra from the drip, and then I'm going to stick it right on that sablé. That way it stays in place. So I'll usually dip a couple, and then by that point it's thawed a little bit. I can get the stick out cleanly. It secured itself to the sablé. Make some mini ones for you guys. So to take the stick out, I usually just twist it real quick and it comes right out. Love some help dipping if anyone's open to dipping some corn. Slice it if you want to hang out here. Small little portions. Go ahead and grab that. Is it secure? Dip the bottom. Make sure it's not dripping anymore. You can kind of scrape the bottom of the side a little bit. Yep. Gets a little ear of corn. You guys use dips like these in your pastries? Classic oil and chocolates dip, kind of make your own chocolate compound.
Sometimes for this, sometimes with the wall. Sometimes it's really nice for a little bit glaze.
Yeah. I love mixing it with a glaze, having a dip with it for that textural difference of shiny to matte. the glaze like this too, you can add other oils to it for additional flavor, whether that's maybe a hazelnut oil to get some hazelnut flavor. I've used lime and lemon oils, especially in the green color like this. A little lime oil would be delicious. All right. Two more. I need to see that, please. See that, please. He said this is therapeutic. When my team dips things, they have to use both hands. You dip two, set it on a glazing screen, dip another two, put it on the same glazing screen, pick up the first set, put it on the cookie. And they have to go as quickly as possible. So this is nice, right? Everyone's tired. Sense of urgency. All right.
How far in advance do you
The dipping part we usually do day prior. I try not to put anything dipped in the freezer. It tends to crack a lot of the time unless you really put a lot of additional oils in it to make it flexible. But yeah, I try to do the dip the day before. Dip it while it's frozen, put it all in the fridge, be able to decorate it the next day. So. Well, she's relaxing in pastry spa over here. I'm going to go ahead and plate up our final ones. So the chocolate garnishes we made. I put gloves on for this, but they're made of vinyl and I'll probably break something. So. We got a nice textural garnish to that. And my hands are too hot. I have to do it. It's just really hard to hold things in this. I do use a little bit of gold dust just to bring out the texture a little more. So I don't want to put a lot, but that way you can actually see the texture. I actually have a lot of makeup brushes at work that I use for these all the time. Somebody bought me a really nice makeup set once and I just took it to work. So, didn't find a use for the mascara wand though. I don't know what to use for that. So, it comes out pretty easily. Baby all set? Ah, thank you. And then as far as the garnishes go on this, just a nice textural piece on top. Cover that hole we created. Nobody needs to know about.